Thank you, JC. Thank you, Congressman Pittenger. It's an honor to be here. As JC said, I lead emerging technology innovation for Deloitte's government and public services practice in the United States. And as of yesterday, I've taken on a new role as our Chief Operating Officer for our global public policy team, which is actually headquartered here in London. So it worked out perfectly, the timing to be here, and my first visit to London, and looking forward to visiting more often. I think the panel did a fantastic job of sort of laying the foundation of these innovations and technologies and kind of why do we care as regulators, as citizens, as policymakers, as legislators. And I would just maybe add sort of my additional points of view given the work that I've done both in the federal government, in our legislature, working for Senator Carl Levin and John McCain, and then also working at Treasury and within the White House, and now from the private sector. So I've kind of seen both sides to sort of this topic, if you will. The regulators, oftentimes will see these technologies, digital assets, cryptocurrencies as enablers of illicit finance, illicit activities. The private sector, on the other hand, will see these as opportunities to promote and expand financial inclusion, financial sector development, more modernized capital markets. And I think we need to find the right balance between the two. I don't think that outright bans and offshoring these technologies is the right approach, right? I think that should kind of make us nervous as long-term crypto investors watching hourly price charts, right, because of all this volatility. I think that such measures only lead to unregulated markets, a loss of opportunities to shape the digital financial world. And again, these blanket bans or pushing digital assets and cryptocurrency offshore are not solutions. They create dangerous, unregulated black markets, and they relinquish the opportunity to guide global digital finance in a direction that aligns with our democratic and ethical norms. As Michael mentioned, countries around the world are, experimenting, implementing, adopting these technologies. Michael had mentioned, in China, the yuan, the digital yuan, and that's sort of underway now. I want to sort of maybe give a quick overview of what other jurisdictions are doing when it comes to cryptocurrencies and digital assets. The U.S., you've heard from Brian and others, through FinCEN are regulating crypto activities as money service businesses. The European Union has followed suit with its anti-money laundering directive. The recently proposed market and crypto asset regulation aims to further tighten this regulatory net by protecting investors and setting standards for issuers and service providers. In the US, you have the SEC, the CFTC, a multitude of federal regulatory agencies that are regulating these in, whether it's a security, whether it's a commodity, whether it's property. And you have we've seen recent legislative initiatives, Congressman Hill, about, focusing primarily on the consumer protection and also giving, regulatory agencies such as the CFTC more oversight over spot crypto exchanges and designating a primary financial federal regulator for stablecoins. And we have states in the U.S. that, are leveraging their own regulatory, mechanisms to regulate and policy make, if you will, around these technologies. You have New York with its BIT license framework, which I had an opportunity to work on when I was working at Treasury. And the prevalent theme around sort of all of these within the US has been regulation by enforcement, demanding that market participants stay attuned to evolving legal actions for cues on regulatory expectations. And we've seen Singapore and Switzerland have their own unique frameworks. Japan recognizes cryptocurrencies as legal property. And in contrast, in the Middle East, has a patchwork of regulations. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is working on aligning its crypto regulations with the Vision 2030 directive in support of the Financial Sector Development Program. And I've been fortunate to work very closely with the Ministry of Finance, Capital Market Authority, and SAMA, which is their central bank, on aligning those regulations, again, for the benefit, for the ultimate aim of protection of the system, financial stability, but also to reap the rewards that we see and the many, many benefits that we see from enabling digital innovation and digital finance. You know, I think, again, like I said, in this digital age, the one who strikes a balanced regulatory pose will have the last laugh. And so who gets this balance right will not only attract an immense investment, but will become very well, likely become the digital financial hub of the future. One example, and Brian had talked about this, about tokenization, asset tokenization, which falls under the category of digital assets, if you will. We at Deloitte, working in close collaboration with our both commercial and government partners, see that this can unlock an astounding $24 trillion by 2027, essentially liquefying assets that have long remained frozen in traditional financial icebergs. So ignoring this space is like leaving money, whether it's digital or otherwise, on the table. And again, to navigate this maze, I cannot overstate the importance of joint government and industry advisory committees and collaboration. By pooling wisdom from both sectors, we can better blueprint regulations that protect without stifling and innovate without risk. And so you're probably thinking, and I'm going to close with sort of my thoughts and views on what should then, we're all here, we're trying to find sort of what is that right balance? What should good regulations and policies look like? Well, I think for one thing, and we've heard this over and over again, is we do need comprehensive oversight. Legislation should be broad, but yet adaptable. We need consumer protection. We need data protection, privacy laws that must align with the immutability. We need global collaboration. The cross-border nature of these technologies necessitates international cooperation. And we need transparency. Regulation must be open and transparent to garner public trust. And as far as other considerations, I would recommend to all of you, our esteemed parliamentarians from around the world, consider your local context. Consider the socioeconomic factors unique to your jurisdiction. Again, engagement with technology firms, with academia, with civil society, with your citizens, with the end user of these technologies, and robust economic enforcement mechanisms. Because again, without adequate enforcement, even the most well-intentioned laws will fall flat. And lastly, again, working with industry, private sector involvement is essential for crafting these pro-innovation approaches. So yeah, I again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to the discussion, and feel free to, come up to me afterwards, and, love to, thank you.